Ministry shuts down federal government colleges amidst threats. And Serap sues INEC over vote buying in Ekiti. This is Plus Politics. I am Mary Inacom. The Federal Ministry of Education has directed the closure of all federal government colleges in Abuja following security threats on the Unity colleges located in the FCT. It would be recalled that some of the federal government colleges had been asked to vacate the school premises on July the 20th, I beg your pardon, while others were closed on the 26th of July. Now, the Director of Press, Federal Ministry of Education, Mr. Ben Gong, said the decision was as a result of rising insecurity and threats to lives and well-being of the students. Discussing this with us is Dickson Osajie. He is a criminologist and global security analyst. It's so good to have you join us in the studio, Dickson. It's been a long time. I wish that we would, have conversations like this on a better note, but unfortunately, this is what we're talking about today. Okay. So, it started, there's been a string of attacks, the Kuje prison, an attack of the president's advance team. Okay. Of course, we still had the lingering issue of the passengers on the train that are still in captivity. And then, of course, the turbaning of a so-called bandit by an emir. And then threats to Mr. President, threats to the governor of Kaduna State. And here we are. The FCT is saying that schools need to be shut down. Now, a lot of people are wondering why we're not getting the kind of reaction that we would expect from a government that seems to be fighting terrorism, or that their mantra would be they wanted to put an end to terrorism. So, I mean, you're a security person. I'm guessing that you might have an answer for us.
What type of answer do you want?
I'm just wondering.
All right, you see, you just gave a brief analysis of what we're going through in Nigeria. So much of security issues, which are always classified as multi-dimensional security threats coming from various angles of the Federation. And that tells you and I that the government is not prepared to solve the situation, or perhaps they are incapacitated. Because I see no reason where a country of over 200 million people will have a lot of military generals. I can tell you we have a lot of military generals. We have a lot of police officers. We have the DSS. We have the Navy, Army, Air Force. We have a lot of security agents. As at the last count, we have about 25 security agents of various departments and various formations to forestall the spate of insecurity in Nigeria. And I could tell you for free that the federal government have spent a lot of billions in these security issues, trillions of naira, I mean to say. And you see people on the bikes, going after our military, going after our people, and just succeeding. To be very honest, I think the government has failed us wholeheartedly. Nigerians are dying every day. Our security agents are dying every day. It's so painful, Mary Ann, because sometimes I'm just speechless, because I see no reason. The president himself is an ex-military general. I just want to imagine, how will an ex-military general be going through this kind of mess? It's an embarrassment to his
but you said ex, and the president is no longer a military general. He does have generals.
He should have the experience.
Should that be his job? I mean, that's why the president has aides and has these chief of defense staff. He has the minister of defense and all of these people, the DSS so he has all of these people. Yes, the buck stops at Mr. President's table, but can we say that these military generals, in your words, and these guys who are at the helm of affairs when it comes to our security, have been able to do their jobs pretty well? Can we just blame Mr. President for people's incompetencies?
Well, he's the leader. Like the last service chief spent about 5 years in her office. And I was so amazed at how would you allow these guys to spend 5 years in office I think a lot of damages has been done before these guys left. And in security, you don't give room for damages. When you give room for damages, then you spend a lot of time for damage control. Presently now we are going through damage control in the areas of terrorism, damage control in the areas of banditry, damage control in the areas of kidnapping as well, because most of these guys have seen the vulnerability of our security agents, and they know very well that the military and the security agent cannot contend with them, simply because I think we are playing with those guys. You know, what is happening in Nigeria is a war situation, Mary Ann. A war situation is a situation whereby you need to declare full-blown war against these guys. When you take over 999 of human lives from terrorism studies, it is a war situation because each life matters. But here, I think Nigerian lives don't matter, just like those our brothers and sisters in captivity for over 60 days or whatever the case may be. I saw some video moving around the media space, how they are being tortured in their own fatherland. I don't think it's a mistake to be a Nigerian. And also don't think it's a crime for you and I to be a Nigerian. We are in Nigeria. It's not our choice to be a Nigerian, but we are in Nigerian by grace. So I think we need to start holding our leaders accountable. If you cannot perform, just kindly resign and leave this office for people that can come in with strategy.
I'm sorry that I laughed. I'm wondering, has there been a precedent or any, a leader that has stepped down in this country on whatever capacity?
No accountability.
Well, I mean, so I think that this is just a mere statement, but let's go to the core of insecurity in Nigeria. What do you think is at the core, and what do you think it's continuously fueling it? Certain analysts will say, well, because we're paying these kidnappers, we're funding it. Some other people will say that violence, electoral violence, is also at the core of it. But I want to know, is poverty also at the core of it? Is bad governance at the core of it? Let's analyze.
If you want to go into causative factors of insecurity in Nigeria, they are multidimensional, and which you've mentioned. Here in Nigeria, we're suffering a lot of police brutality, educational brutality. Our students have been after school for over 6 months, if I'm not mistaken. There's educational brutality, tribal brutality, religious brutality. You can see what's happening here in Nigeria. We've not even gotten into 2023 election. There's a lot of fights here and there because of the Muslim ticket taking out a particular sector of the religion. That is going to be another big issue. We are supposed to an impending big issues. Then also we're talking about poverty, which you actually right. You see, like the Almajiris, when you go to the north side of the of this country, you find a lot of Almajiris. I was born and bred in the north. I was born in Maiduguri. I grew up in Sokoto State and Zaria, so I understand the lifestyle there. Almajirism has been mismanaged here in Nigeria. When you go into the tradition or the history of Almajiri, there are people that goes into religious learning, just to go and learn more about religion and get knowledge and, excel in their lives. But here we misplace Almajiri, we mismanage our Almajiri. We see them on the streets begging for bread and butter, begging for masa, begging for food and drink, and our leaders are robbing them of their future. Each time you rob them of their future, you are creating risk in this country, because a jobless person on the street or a child on the street is a potential threat to the government tomorrow. When I say potential threat, I mean it's going to be a threat to the government tomorrow. Take for instance now, you have about 5-10 Almajiris on the street that don't have jobs. They always depend on the elites, the big men in quotes. They will go there and they will start singing in their dormouts and be praying for the big man. They will come and share them 1,000 and say, Yankadede, Alabadesa. You understand? They are telling him that God should give him more to give more. So those guys, when these terrorists approach them, that is terrorism employment this time around. When these terrorists approach these guys, they tend to fall to these terrorist guys, and they pick up arms against them. They say, hey, in the past 50 years, the government does not care about me. In the past 10 years, government does not care about me. I'm always on the streets. So let me pick up this arm as an opportunity for me to strike against the state. And most of these guys that are going into terrorism and banditry, they are cashing out a lot of money. Just imagine the amount of money that has been cashed out by these guys that kidnap our people in the Kaduna Expressway. We are talking about hundreds of millions of naira in the Nigerian territorial space. So most of these issues needs to be addressed by our government. And military might will never eliminate terrorism or banditry. We need to start looking at the problem holistically. Educational-wise, we need to check about it, because counter-terrorism comes with about 5 components. The first component is political components. Political-wise, you need to bring in state actors. Let us resolve the issue. What's the problem? Just like this Muslim
But
ticket.
in the case of these so-called bandits who are faceless, they're actors, but who do you get to? Who do you talk to?
No,
Because
you don't.
because you see, security agencies will keep telling you that they don't know these people. We don't know where they are. So how do you bring them to the table? How do you do that?
You can't bring them to the table. Bargaining with the devil is a sign of weakness. Why would you want to bargain with somebody who will eliminate Nigerian lives?
But you talked about state actors and non-state actors.
Yes. When I talk about state actors, I'm talking about people in the affairs of government. For example, if I'm in a political party and I have grievances, or for example, maybe you rob me of my mandates, I will want to make your state governable. We haven't seen most of those things happening.
So you're saying that politicians in this country have a hand in the loss of lives every single day?
Of course, I can categorically tell you that, and that is the truth, because you cannot tell me that most of these things happening, we have no resolution to it. These people are from territories, they're from villages, they're from homes. Okay, if you want me to clarify that, I will confirm my facts to you about the turbaning of this guy in Zamfara State. Why is it being turbaned? On what ground? Is it because they've succumbed to his attack or his ill activities? We have a lot of issues to handle here in this country. But the truth is that I think some people are out there to hijack the Nigerian state and trying to maybe create unrest in Nigeria. 2023 is coming, it's around the corner. There's going to be a lot of unrest. We need to be prepared. It's not about God forbid, but we must be prepared for the
I hate to sound like a pessimist or someone who's an unbeliever, but when you say that the elections are here and we need to be prepared, we still have our plate full, and it doesn't seem like anybody is trying to unpack that. And then we have, like you have said, 2023 is around the corner. If we're unable to deal with 2022, who's to say that we can deal with 2023 and what it has to offer?
That's the problem here. So what we need to start doing presently, I saw a letter going around the media space that the president says he's going to deal with this guy before 2023 runs out. I laughed, security is not magic. Security is process. The hierarchy of protection is very clear. The hierarchy of control is very clear. The topmost priority of any governance is the protection of human lives. You measure your success by the protection of human lives. So you can't tell me Nigerians are dying every day and you tell me your administration is doing so well. Because human lives are irreplaceable. Your phone is replaceable. Every other items are replaceable. So we need to start looking at the protection of Nigerian lives. Let's place top priority on our lives. If we don't place priority on human lives, we can succeed. Now, for me to tell you that we don't place priority on human lives, truly, those guys, 60 Nigerians that were kidnapped in the Kaduna train attacks, they've been in captivity for over 60 days. That is to tell you that this government or the Nigerian state does not place priority on human lives. An American was kidnapped some years ago, last year or 2 years ago, in the Nigerian borders around the area. They flew in commandos, great guys that came in, busted the terrorist camp and retrieved the American. That tells you how the American people place priority on their citizens. If you don't place priority on your citizens, you suffer setback, and that's where social contract comes to play. Social contract, give me protection, give me amenities, give me infrastructure, give me good education. Nigerians now, most of our people are out of school, and a lot of them will definitely venture into crime because they need to get out of school, get something to do, and have a living. But at the time you are just sitting at home jobless, it's going to be sad, and it's a sad one.
Let's talk about us, the people. Before we go back to Mr. President, we're going to dissect Mr. President a bit. You talk about the social contract. A contract is between two people. And if our social contract has been one way or the other violated on one hand, are we also not playing a role in this violation? I ask because there are people who are in support of what is happening in the country, or in support of certain politicians who are part of the problem. And there are also people who are on the other side saying, we want some form of responsibility. But are we, as Nigerians, do you think we hold our leaders accountable enough? Because if Mr. President ran telling us that he wants to fight insecurity, he was going to put it to bed, he was going to bring employment to young people, he's not done that. He was going to fight corruption. Share
money around 5,000 naira, I think. I was even expecting my 5K. I've not gotten my 5K since 2015.
What is our role as Nigerians? Because it's not enough for us to say we're jettisoning that responsibility to the president because he is the one that we've asked to lead us. But what about us as followers? What should we be doing that we're not doing?
Well, I think you make a fantastic point. We are centralizing our problem. that is not supposed to be true. That's not supposed to be it. But the truth is that they say that in any given home, if anything goes wrong, you hold the head, of that home. So definitely we're going to hold him because he is the leader of the affairs of this great nation. Basically, what we need in this country, we all need societal attitudinal change individually. For example, there was a paper that I was interviewed in Punch newspaper some few days ago about some police people that arrested some Nigerians and take money from them, about, I think, 50,000 or something like that. And I realized that both the giver and the receiver are both liable. So here in Nigeria, we need to start looking at accountability plane from the horizontal and the vertical plane, in the sense that those who leave office must be made to come and give an account of how they...
Who's going to make them give an account if their friends and their cronies are the ones who take over from them?
We need to create an institution that will be in charge of that, because you can't just come...
We have so many institutions. How responsible are those institutions?
Then that is to tell you that
the people who are running those
That is to tell you that the major problem we're having is leadership. Leadership-wise, we've seen countries like Rwanda that has been into genocide, into great war, one of the toughest war in the history of mankind, so vulnerable. Rwanda is one of the most beautiful countries today. Why? Leadership-wise. Because the leader, if a leader stands on his ground and say, hey, this has to be this has to be this, the citizens don't have an option, because that is where you need to integrate the administration of criminal justice system with leadership-wise. If the government had taken supremacy in leadership, because when you look at the executive, the judiciary, and the legislature, most times the executive are taking supremacy over the legislature and the judiciary, which is not supposed to be. Everybody has a role to play. So the judiciary needs to be independent of its own statutory institution, in the sense that if anything comes to the judicial line, I think we need to start addressing crimes and punishment with speed and momentum. And one of the reasons why crime has flourished here in Nigeria is because we have not been addressing it with speed and momentum. Take an example, Evans was arrested some years ago. It takes almost 5 or 6 years to award him some punishment or award judgment. Why does it have to take 5 years for the judiciary to run a matter? We need to start looking at the judicial speed. You need to apply speed and momentum. Most times people say justice delayed is justice denied. For me, I think justice delayed is a defeat on our judicial system. It makes the judicial system vulnerable. Is it, if we need to, create more law courts, let's create. If we need to, create more, promote more judges, let's promote more judges. We need to add speed to the administration of criminal justice system. Most of these criminal guys that come to Nigeria to commit crime, and I tell you that they've perceived Nigeria as a vulnerable state. Just like last few years, some people went to the House of Assembly and carted away our maize. I was so surprised that if hoodlums can go into the National Assembly to cut away our maize of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, that tells you that the Nigerian state is vulnerable. And that is why most of these guys just believe that they can come to Nigeria and commit crime and go scot-free. And they are really succeeding in their
And talking about that, it takes me back to 2016, if I'm not mistaken. The Sultan of Sokoto, Alhaji Sa'ad Abubakar, at some point said, when we started having this, issue of banditry, had alleged that the people who were committing these crimes were not Nigerians. And the question I kept asking was, how bad is it for us that we would let non-Nigerians come into Nigeria and kill Nigerians and go scot-free, and we still throw our hands up in the air when we have leadership? There's also that story of, our soldiers are thinly stretched, the police is incapacitated. And so what do? The Governor Zulum at some point said, hey, everybody get a gun.
Not only Zulum, even the Zamfara State Governor and Katsina Governor says everybody should start picking a gun. Nigeria is not right for us to start picking a gun. If you pick a gun today, I can tell you tens of people will start blowing up their head because even the stress in Nigeria is enough for some people to take their lives. God forbid that should not be the case. For me, if you're talking about the external factors, that's where our military comes to play, because the military is solely responsible for external aggression. Nigeria is suffering from external aggression. Most of these guys, I can tell you, they are not Nigerians as well. And that is why, just like the way you treat your brothers, you can't treat your brother the way you treat outsiders. You treat your brothers with care. So most of these guys, they knew they are not Nigerians, and that's why they come with this animal behavior and devilish character to come and start capturing Nigerians on our highway, taking them to a government space, getting money from them. And that is where we need to start looking at identification process. We need to start looking at immigration as well. Nigerian immigration needs to be strengthened. There's an agency in the immigration service known as the Border Management Agency that are solely responsible for the protection of our national borders. I have advised many times that the federal government should start looking at, empowering the Nigerian immigration. The strength of the Nigerian immigration is not up to 35,000 personnel for a country of over 200 million. And we have about 1,400 irregular routes, which these guys, irregular migrants, are taking. I wouldn't want to use the word illegal because no human being is illegal.
Yes, migration is migration. It's just unusual.
It's very unusual.
Half the time.
Yeah, you're very correct. So we need to start looking at our border security because we have the process of our national border is also contributing. So a lot of factors are contributing to the state of insecurity in Nigeria because a borderless nation is a no nation. If you have a porous border, just for example, now in this beautiful edifice, if you want to, spray insecticide in these premises, what do you do first? You close your windows. If you open your windows, you are doing a bad job. So the windows here is talking about our national borders. If we want to have an effective security measures in our country, we need to shut down our national borders, go into your governed space, take over your governed space. First of all, we need to carry out an assessment. Where are the vulnerable holes in our national borders? Where are these guys taking through? Then project immigration services.
I'm sorry, do we have to, because I can name a few from off the top of my head. There's so many in my state that way you can just literally cross over to another country. We know these things, but I'm sorry. I'm trying to understand why we sound as if these things we have to blindly try to search for these things. Is it that we do not know the problem or we're not willing to deal with it?
There's no political way. We don't have political way. If we have political way in Nigeria, I tell you, Mary Ann, we'll be able to take out all these issues. Security is achievable. And I tell you the truth, security is achievable. The only way you can succeed in security management in Nigeria is only when the security agents take a departure from politics.
Talking about that, let's get into the politicking of how over-politicized our security agencies have become. I remember last year, if I'm not mistaken, the Chief of Defense Staff had told us that we were cowards and that we should be able to pick up arms and fight these bandits. I cannot forget when he said that. And I'm wondering, this is a guy that is being paid to be in charge of defense, and this is what he tells us. And this is also a general. Like you said, we have so many generals. Again, should we be allowing politics into the security space? And what needs to be done to depoliticize, if there's a word like that, the security apparatuses?
One of the problems I've identified in the security relationship with politicians is that it's because of greed. The national anthem has said it all. The national pledge has said it all. Most times, most people just think the national anthem is just a normal day-to-day music. It's an oath. The national pledge is an oath. Until our security agents begins to see the national anthem and the national pledge as an oath, they will not do things right. Until they file a divorce between them and the politicians, they will not get things right. Because I see no reason why we have hundreds of generals, we have hundreds of police officers, thousands, of police officers, thousands of military, and billions and trillions are being spent. Then some people on Okada are just taking over territories.
Spent where? Because you see, there's a question of where's the money? Trillions. I heard early this year that trillions of naira, even dollars, have been voted to security in this country. Let's not even go into the issue of security votes, which is shrouded in so much secrecy. Okay. Where does that money go? Because I remember also sometime, I think 4 years ago, in a never ever seen video, soldiers complaining about the equipments that they're using to fight these so-called terrorists and the fact that those people are better armed than them. And that was, again, swept under the carpet. So I ask, where does the money go? And who's giving account? Because there's also been cases where the National Assembly has summoned these security chiefs and they don't show up.
That is what I'm talking about, accountability. If we don't have an effective accountability processes here in Nigeria, people will not be held accountable. Talking about the billions and millions government has spent, we've seen a lot of videos going around the media space. Our soldiers are crying. Mary Ann, I can tell you categorically that we have a formidable military. But I don't know what the problem is because as a former soldier, I know the capability of the Nigerian army. I know the capability of the Nigerian army. I know the capability of the Nigerian military. What's going on wrong? Because the battle begins from the mind. I have identified so many vulnerable areas of the Nigerian military. First of all, their operational strategy is highly porous. Then their tactical strategy as well. Because most times I've seen our soldiers being on the defensive line. You don't be on the defensive line in a war situation in your own territory. You go before the enemy, overtake the enemy, and take that territory. That is to say, you take back the territory, you hold that territory, and you rebuild. This has been done always by the military, and the military should start looking at policing duty as well, taking a departure from policing duty, because some of the police duty are being done by the military, themselves. So for me, if we don't hold people accountable, our soldiers will keep on dying in the battlefield. We've seen generals crying on the battlefield that there's no arms and ammunition. So what is the problem? That tells you that there is a fifth columnist that are sabotaging the effort of this great nation.
The conversation that has to be had more and more, and especially as we're getting ready for the elections, we need to be clear on our demands, I'm guessing.
For sure, we need to be very clear on our demand. Our demand is to take back Nigeria, to bring back Nigeria. You know, Nigeria needs to come back to its glorious days. Because I just imagine the president, the chief of army staff of Liberia some few days ago, during their celebration, sent a message to Nigeria that the sacrifices of our soldiers made Liberia what Liberia is today. The Nigerian army paid the supreme price in Liberia, bring Liberia to standstill, went to Sierra Leone, brought Liberia to a standstill, take out all the enemies. But coming back to Nigeria, they are killing them like chickens, they are killing them like cows.
It's unfortunate.
Then that means that the Nigerian soldiers' life does not matter. If we don't put in strategy in place to ensure that we take out these criminal elements, Nigeria will be override by these guys.
Well, let's hope that doesn't happen. Osajie is a criminologist and a global security analyst. I want to say thank you so much for being part of this conversation.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be talking with Serap as they're asking the federal government, to deal with the issue of vote buying in the past election in Ekiti State. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.